the final video for section 2.3, I want to show off a non-example, or rather maybe something that shows how we have to be careful about how we use the laws, that there are some assumptions we have to satisfy. And so those assumptions are, note here, if the limit as x goes to c of f of x and the limit as x goes to c of g of x exist, then we get all of these laws here. That, for example, this is equal to this. So let's just see an example of how things get weird if one of these two limits doesn't exist. So namely, let's think about what happens to the following limit if we let f of x to be x, if we let g of x to be 1 over x, and we think about the limit as x goes to 0 of f of x times g of x. Now, on the one hand, we can just do this without too much difficulty by plugging in what x and 1 over x are. So we would get limit as x goes to 0. So f of x is x. G of x is 1 over x. So x times 1 over x is going to be 1. And so we see that this limit is equal to 1, and that's a true, and that everything there is okay. But what happens if we attempt to apply the product rule? So we try to apply the product law. Weird things happen. So the product law would say so I'm going to put this equals here, but I'm going to put the equals in quotes because we'll see that something goes very wrong and we're not allowed to do this. So this would equal the limit as x goes to 0 of f of x times the limit as x goes to 0 of g of x. So this would be the limit as x goes to 0 of x times the limit as x goes to 0 of 1 over x. So the limit as x goes to 0 of x is just going to be 0. But then the limit as x goes to 0 of 1 over x, well, 1 over x looks something like this. We see that as we approach 0 from the right, small positive numbers, it goes off to positive infinity. So we approach 0 from the left, small negative numbers, it goes off to negative infinity. So we end up with something that is 0 times something that does not exist. And so we just throw up our hand and say, oh, 0 times something does not exist. We don't know what to do with it. We're not allowed to say that it's 0 because we can see from up here the answer is 1, not 0. And so the point here is that we weren't allowed to apply the product law because it required both of these two limits to exist. So this limit existed, but so this limit doesn't exist. So in this case here, the product law does not apply. And so we have to be careful when we're working on this to make sure that we're allowed to apply the rules that we want to. Most of the time we will be able to, but we should be careful in certain circumstances.